Currently, the state of Texas is facing a budget deficit of $27 billion. The House and Senate appropriations bills currently show cuts to public education between $9.3 billion and $10 billion. San Benito CISD anticipates cuts ranging anywhere from $3 million to $10.2 million. Superintendent of Schools Antonio G. Limon provided us with a budget update discussing the district's fund balance, the state's rainy day fund, and what plans San Benito CISD has in place in order to address some of these budgeting concerns.
I would want to address at this time the current budget situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot has been said about the current budget situation. We all know that the state has a deficit of about $27 billion. That cuts overall in the state are coming down all across, not only for education, but for the medical field, for all the different departments. There's going to be all sorts of cuts. But the one that affects us the most, of course, are the cuts that come in education. We've talked to our community and we've been proactive either through the newspaper or speaking to different people. And we have kept them informed, and we have told our board as well that our projected cuts are anywhere from 3.3 million to about 10.2 million. So depending on the amount of cuts that we get, will bring about different scenarios that can take place. Now you ask, what are those scenarios? Well, I'll give you an example of some of them, but I can't share all of them with you. But some of the scenarios would be, for example, furniture. The district spends about $400,000 a year on furniture. Well, there would be, for next year and the following year, there would be no furniture purchased. Everybody just deals and functions with what we have. Another possible scenario is travel. So much is spent on travel. Well, we're going to cut out all of the travel and save, another $200,000. Another possible scenario that comes in are field trips for students. When we cut out all field trips, we'll save another $100,000, and the only field trips that they can take would be locally. Now, these are all different possible scenarios. It doesn't mean that we're going to do that, but it does mean that we do have plans in effect. And of course, I've said all along that our board was very proactive for the last 2 years. We moved 13 cents across from the INS side to the M&O side, which is the interest and sinking fund, which is a debt fund, to the maintenance and operations fund. To make a long story short, that brought additional money into the district. So the board does have about $8 million set aside for a rainy day. Now, the state of Texas also has a rainy day fund, and the rainy day fund for the state of Texas is about $8 to $9 billion. So if you would call your different legislative representatives, there's a bill out there right now that is there that the state of Texas should use its rainy day fund to help education. If the state of Texas uses its rainy day fund, we'll be better off. All the districts in Texas will be better off. So I hope if you have time, call your representatives and urge them to vote for the use of the rainy day fund. Well, our district has something that's called fund balance. Fund balance is basically a rainy day fund. The state says you have to have so much money set aside to operate the district in case something happens to keep the district going for at least 3 months. Well, we were able to increase our fund balance from 8 million to about 16 million. So we can take at least half of that, about $8 million, for the next 2 years and supplement our budget. Now that budget it's not going to be a balanced budget, but it's going to be a deficit budget. And it's a deficit budget because you have to take money out of fund balance and bring it in order to have the budget for that year. But that's okay. Our board is willing to do that for 2 years. Now, if they're willing to do that, plus the cuts that we get, let's say that the cuts for the state are only $3.3 million. That's not a problem for us. We can take $2 million out of fund balance, cut our budget $1.5 million without much of a problem, and we continue without missing a step. Everything goes on the way it's been in the past. Our educational programs don't suffer at all. Our employees, everybody continues the same. They may not get a raise, but at least all of us will have a job, okay? And it continues to move forward for 2 years because the state does their funding on a biennium, which means every 2 years. For the next 2 years, we'll be okay if the cuts are only like $3.3 million every year. which is a total cut of about $6 million over the 2-year period. And we'll progress without a problem. But the big if and the big question mark comes in, what if the cut is $10.1 million? And my response to that last night was when somebody asked me that, and I said, Lord help us if it is. Lord help us all if it's $10.1 million. Because then that's when you start looking at scenarios that are not good.
Right.
That's when you start looking at scenarios that are going to hurt, and they're going to hurt deeply if the state is going to cut us $10 million. But that's only a worst case scenario. So it all depends. Right now, as I said in the newspaper last week, it's all speculation. We really don't know until the state of Texas, the legislature, finally says, this is what school financing is going to be, and we can look at the formula and we can tell you to the penny what we're going to get. That's when we'll be able to come out and have a board workshop with the board and tell the board, okay, this is it, this is what we have, this is what we have to cut in order to make it go, this is what we're going to have to take from fund balance to make it go, and then we can go out and let the community know and say, this is exactly where we're at and this is exactly what we're going to do. But in the meantime, we prepare different scenarios and we're ready and we'll take it. But we're all very, very hopeful that if the state uses the rainy day fund, that we will be able to move on with very little effect, if any.
Okay. All righty, Mr. Limon. Well, thank you for giving us that update. I know that's very important information, not only for our staff members, but for community members as well that might have questions. So thank you for addressing that with us today. San Benito CISD will be providing updates related to the budget on a regular basis. We hope you've enjoyed today's Budget Talks report. This is Celia Longoria reporting for KSBG TV 17.